The harsh Wyoming wind carried the smell of pine and sage as Zara Mitchell's stagecoach rumbled to a stop in front of the modest train station in Timber Creek. The year was 1885, and she clutched her weathered carpetbag with white-knuckled fingers, wondering if she'd made the biggest mistake of her 22 years. The advertisement had been specific. Cook needed for rancher and young son. Room and board provided. Good wages for capable woman. Must be of sound character and willing to work hard. Zara stepped down from the coach, her simple blue dress billowing around her ankles. Her chestnut hair was secured in a practical bun, though several strands had escaped during the long journey from Chicago. She squinted against the afternoon sun, searching for someone who might be expecting her. "Miss Mitchell." A deep voice called from her left. She turned to find a tall man leading a chestnut mare toward her. His face was partially shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat, but she could see the hard lines etched into his weathered features. He wasn't old, perhaps 30, but life had clearly left its mark on him. "Yes, that's me," she replied, attempting to keep her voice steady. "Samuel Whitaker," he said, extending a calloused hand. "Most folks call me Sam." His handshake was firm but brief. Up close, she could see eyes the color of a summer storm gray with hints of blue. A neatly trimmed beard covered his jaw, and his shoulders stretched broad beneath a worn leather vest and cotton shirt. "I appreciate you meeting me, Mr. Whitaker," Zara said. "Wagon's tied up over there," he replied, nodding toward a simple buckboard. "We've got about an hour's ride to the ranch." As he took her bag and secured it in the wagon, Zara noticed the way he moved efficiently, with purpose, like a man who never wasted a motion or a minute. She climbed up onto the wooden seat, smoothing her skirts nervously. "You've come a long way," Sam observed as he guided the horses away from the small town. It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. "Chicago. After my parents passed last winter, there wasn't much keeping me there." Sam nodded but offered no condolences or further questions. The silence between them stretched as they traveled along the rutted dirt road, passing through golden fields of prairie grass that swayed like waves on an amber sea. "The advertisement didn't mention how old your son is," Zara ventured after a while. "Daniel's 8, Sam replied, his voice softening slightly at the mention of the boy. "Smart as a whip, too smart sometimes." "And his mother?" The question slipped out before she could consider its propriety. Sam's jaw tightened. "Died of fever 3 years ago." "I'm sorry," Zara said quietly. "Nothing to be sorry for. It's just the way things are." His tone made it clear the subject was closed. They traveled the rest of the way in silence. As they crested a small hill, Zara caught her first glimpse of the Whitaker ranch, a sturdy 2-story house with a wide porch, surrounded by several outbuildings. A corral held a small herd of horses, and beyond them, cattle dotted the rolling pastures. It wasn't the largest spread she'd seen on their journey, but it was substantial and well-maintained. "It's lovely," she remarked genuinely. "It's home," Sam replied simply, guiding the wagon toward the house. As they pulled up to the hitching post, the front door swung open, and a small figure darted onto the porch. Daniel Whitaker was all legs and arms, with a mop of dark hair that matched his father's and bright eyes that sparkled with curiosity. He wore canvas trousers held up by suspenders over a faded blue shirt, and his feet were bare despite the cooling autumn air. "You must be Miss Mitchell," he called out, hopping down the steps. "Did you really come all the way from Chicago? Do they have buildings that touch the clouds like in the stories? Can you cook apple pie? Mrs. Halloway used to make apple pie, but she left and said Pa was more stubborn than her mule." "And Daniel," Sam interrupted, his tone firm but not unkind. "Let Miss Mitchell catch her breath before you talk her ear off." The boy grinned, not the least bit chastened. "Sorry, Pa, sorry, Miss Mitchell." Zara couldn't help but smile. "That's quite all right, Daniel. And yes, I can make apple pie. Perhaps we can bake one together sometime." Daniel's face lit up. "Really? You'd show me how, if your father approves," she replied, glancing at Sam, who was unloading her bag from the wagon. "We'll see," was his noncommittal answer. "Daniel, show Miss Mitchell to her room while I tend to the horses." The boy nodded eagerly and reached for her bag. "I can carry that for you, Miss Mitchell." "It's a bit heavy. I'm stronger than I look," he insisted, and she relinquished the carpet bag. Touched by his gallantry, Daniel led her into the house, chattering the entire way. The interior was simple but comfortable, a large main room with a stone fireplace, a solid wooden table with chairs, and a few pieces of well-worn furniture. Doorways led to what appeared to be Sam's study and the kitchen. A staircase along one wall led to the second floor. "Your room's up here," Daniel explained as they climbed the stairs. "It used to be Ma's sewing room, but Pa fixed it up nice for you." Zara felt a lump form in her throat. The reminder that she was entering a home broken by loss made her chest tighten. That was thoughtful of him. The room was small but pleasant, with a narrow bed, a chest of drawers, and a small table beside a window that overlooked the corral. Someone had placed a pitcher and basin on the chest, and the bed was made up with clean linens. "The washroom's at the end of the hall," Daniel explained. "We've got running water from the windmill. Pa put it in last year, says it makes us almost civilized." Zara smiled at that. "It sounds very civilized to me." Daniel lingered in the doorway, watching as she set her hat on the bed. "Are you really going to stay and cook for us?" "The last lady only stayed 2 weeks. She said Pa was too moody." "Daniel," Sam's voice came from the hallway, making them both jump. "That's enough. Go wash up for supper." The boy scurried away, leaving Zara alone with Sam in the doorway. "I apologize for my son," he said. "He hasn't quite mastered the art of discretion." "There's no need to apologize. He's delightful." Something flickered in Sam's eyes, pride, perhaps, or pain. "Dinner's usually at 6. The kitchen's yours now, but I've got stew warming for tonight so you can settle in." He hesitated. "The job comes with Sundays off unless you want to cook ahead for us. Town's 10 miles, but I can take you in if you need supplies or want to attend services." "Thank you." Zara appreciated his consideration, even if his manner remained distant. "One more thing," Sam added, his expression serious. "This is a working ranch. Days start early and end late. If you're not up to it, I understand hard work, Mr. Whitaker," Zara interrupted, straightening her shoulders, "and I don't shy away from it." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "We'll see. Supper in an hour." After he left, Zara sank onto the edge of the bed. She'd known this wouldn't be easy, leaving everything familiar behind to work for a stranger in the Wyoming wilderness, but the reality of it was only now settling in. Still, she'd made her choice. After the grief and debts left by her parents' deaths, this chance at a fresh start was a blessing she couldn't ignore. She unpacked her few belongings, changed into a fresh dress, and washed the travel dust from her face and hands. By the time she made her way downstairs, Sam was ladling stew into bowls while Daniel set the table. "Can I help?" she asked from the kitchen doorway. "Not tonight," Sam replied. "Tomorrow the kitchen's yours." The stew was hearty and flavorful, chunks of beef, potatoes, and carrots in a rich broth. Daniel dominated the conversation, peppering Zara with questions about Chicago and her journey west. Sam remained mostly silent, occasionally redirecting his son when the boy's enthusiasm grew too intrusive. "Did you have any brothers or sisters, Miss Mitchell?" Daniel asked between spoonfuls. "I had a sister," Zara replied softly. "Elizabeth. She was 2 years younger than me, but she died when she was about your age. What happened to her?" Daniel's eyes were wide with the direct curiosity of childhood. "Daniel," Sam warned. "It's all right," Zara assured him. "She caught scarlet fever. It was very quick." "Like my ma," Daniel said matter-of-factly. "She got sick and then she was gone." The simplicity of his statement brought tears to Zara's eyes, which she quickly blinked away. "Yes, I suppose it was similar." Sam cleared his throat. "Daniel, why don't you show Miss Mitchell the books you've been reading after you help clear the table?" The boy nodded eagerly, and as they worked together to clean up after the meal, Zara found herself observing the dynamics between father and son. There was clear affection there, but also a sense that Sam was holding something back, keeping a distance even from his own child. Later, as Daniel proudly displayed his small collection of books, Zara sat beside him on the sofa while Sam worked at his desk in the corner. The boy's reading skills were impressive for his age, and she complimented him sincerely. "Pa taught me," Daniel explained. "He reads to me every night, even when he's tired from working all day." Zara glanced at Sam, who kept his eyes firmly on his ledger books. There were layers to this taciturn rancher that intrigued her, despite her determination to keep this arrangement strictly professional. When the mantel clock struck 8, Sam closed his books. "Bedtime, Daniel." The boy groaned but didn't argue. "Will you be here in the morning, Miss Mitchell?" he asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "Of course I will," she promised, "and I'll make breakfast for you and your father." Daniel's smile was radiant. He hugged her impulsively before scampering up the stairs to prepare for bed. Left alone with Sam in the main room, Zara felt suddenly awkward. "He's a wonderful boy," she said, breaking the silence. "He is," Sam agreed, his expression softening momentarily before he seemed to catch himself. "If you need anything for breakfast, the pantry's fully stocked. There's a chicken coop behind the house for fresh eggs." "I'll manage just fine," Zara assured him. "Good night, Mr. Whitaker." He nodded. "Good night, Miss Mitchell." As she climbed the stairs to her room, Zara wondered what she'd gotten herself into. Samuel Whitaker was a man who clearly loved his son but seemed determined to keep the rest of the world at arm's length, including her. The next morning came early, with rosy fingers of dawn just beginning to stretch across the horizon when Zara made her way down to the kitchen. She found Sam already there, stoking the fire in the cook stove. "You're up early," he commented, straightening. "I wanted to get a good start," she replied, tying an apron around her waist. "Especially on my first day." He nodded approvingly. "Coffee's important around here. Daniel will be up soon. He usually has porridge and eggs for breakfast. I generally head out after eating and come back for dinner at noon." "And what do you like for breakfast, Mr. Whitaker?" she asked. He seemed surprised by the question. "Whatever's convenient, I'm not particular." "Everyone has preferences," Zara pressed. "I'd like to know yours since cooking for you is my job now." Sam hesitated. "I like flapjacks," he admitted finally, "but they're not necessary." Zara smiled. "Flapjacks it is, then." She set to work, and by the time Daniel tumbled down the stairs, she had a stack of golden flapjacks, a platter of eggs, and a pot of coffee ready. Sam raised an eyebrow at the spread but didn't comment. "Flapjacks," Daniel exclaimed. "We haven't had these since." He stopped abruptly, glancing at his father. "Since your mother made them," Sam finished quietly. "It's all right to say it, son." The moment hung heavy in the kitchen until Zara set a plate in front of Daniel. "I hope they are as good as your mother's," she said gently. Daniel took a bite and grinned. "They're different, but they're really good." Sam tried his own portion more cautiously. Something flickered across his face, perhaps a memory, before he nodded. "They're very good, Miss Mitchell, thank you." It wasn't effusive praise, but Zara sensed it was genuine, and that was enough for now. After breakfast, Sam headed out to the barn while Daniel lingered in the kitchen, watching Zara clean up. "Don't you have chores to do?" she asked him. He nodded. "I help Pa feed the chickens and collect eggs, and I have to make my bed. But it's Saturday, so I don't have lessons." "You have lessons. Is there a school nearby?" "Not close enough," Daniel explained. "Pa teaches me during the winter, and Mrs. Peterson from town comes out twice a week when the weather's good. She used to be a real teacher back east." "That's wonderful," Zara said. "Education is very important. Pa says so too. He says I need to be smart about things, not just strong." Daniel helped her dry the dishes, handling each piece carefully. "Miss Mitchell, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you come all the way out here? Chicago sounds much more exciting." Zara considered how to answer. "Sometimes people need a fresh start," she said finally. "After my parents died, I needed to find a new place for myself in the world. Your father's advertisement seemed like an opportunity." Daniel nodded as if this made perfect sense. "Pa needed a fresh start after Ma died, too. That's why we came here from Kansas. He says the land helps heal what time can't." The profound observation from such a young boy caught Zara by surprise. "Your father sounds like a wise man." "He is," Daniel agreed seriously. "Just sad sometimes, but he smiles more when I'm around, so I try to be around a lot." Zara's heart ached for this child who felt responsible for his father's happiness. "You're a good son, Daniel." "I try to be," he replied. Then, with the rapid change of subject only children can manage, "Can we make that apple pie today? I could help pick apples from the orchard." "You have an orchard, just a small one. Ma planted it when we first came. The apples are almost ripe now." "Then yes," Zara decided. "Let's make a pie for tonight." The day passed quickly as Zara familiarized herself with the kitchen and pantry, prepared a hearty midday meal, and explored the immediate surroundings of the ranch house. The property was well maintained, with a vegetable garden, the chicken coop, and a small orchard behind the house. Beyond those lay pastures for the cattle and horses, with pine-covered mountains rising in the distance. In the afternoon, she and Daniel collected apples and baked together, the boy proving to be an enthusiastic if messy assistant. By the time Sam returned from working with the cattle, the house was filled with the warm, sweet scent of baking. "Something smells good," he remarked as he washed up at the pump outside the kitchen door. "Miss Mitchell and I made apple pie," Daniel announced proudly. "I showed her Ma's apple trees and helped with everything." "Is that so?" Sam's eyes met Zara's over his son's head. "That was thoughtful of you both." Dinner was beef roast with potatoes and carrots, followed by the apple pie still warm from the oven. Daniel chattered about their baking adventure while Sam listened attentively, asking questions and praising his son's efforts. "Miss Mitchell let me roll out the dough and everything," Daniel said. "She didn't even get mad when I dropped flour all over the floor." "Accidents happen," Zara said with a smile. "Besides, you swept it up afterward." "This is delicious," Sam said after taking his first bite of pie. "Thank you." "It was a team effort," Zara replied, pleased by his approval. Later, after Daniel had gone to bed, Zara was tidying the kitchen when Sam appeared in the doorway. "You don't need to keep working," he said. "Your day ended with dinner." "I prefer to leave things ready for morning," she explained, wiping down the table. Sam watched her for a moment. "You're good with Daniel. He's easy to be good with. He's a remarkable child. His mother would be proud of him." The words seemed to slip out unplanned. Zara paused in her work. "I'm sure she would be, and of you for raising him so well on your own." Sam's expression shuddered. "I'm doing what needs doing, that's all." He straightened from the doorway. "I have some account books to balance. "Good night, Miss Mitchell. Good night, Mr. Whitaker." As she finished in the kitchen, Zara reflected on the day. It had gone well, better than she'd expected. Daniel had accepted her immediately, and while Sam remained reserved, he seemed satisfied with her work. It was a start. The next several weeks fell into a routine. Zara rose early to prepare breakfast, packed lunches for Sam and the ranch hands when they worked far afield, prepared hearty dinners, and kept the house in order. On Sundays, she sometimes accompanied Sam and Daniel to church in town, or spent quiet hours reading or writing letters to the few friends she'd left behind in Chicago. October brought crisp mornings and golden afternoons. The aspens on the mountainsides turned brilliant yellow, creating patches of sunshine among the dark pines. The ranch hands 2 permanent workers named Joe and Thomas, plus occasional day help, began preparing for winter, mending fences and ensuring the cattle would have adequate shelter and feed. Zara found herself settling into life at the Whitaker Ranch with surprising ease. Daniel had fully embraced her presence, often seeking her out to help with his lessons or simply to talk. Sam remained more reserved, but his initial wariness seemed to be thawing gradually. She occasionally caught him watching her with an unreadable expression, only to look away when she noticed. One evening in late October, Zara was teaching Daniel to knit, a skill her grandmother had passed down to her, when Sam came in from checking the livestock before an approaching storm. "What's this?" he asked, taking in the scene by the fire. "Miss Mitchell is teaching me to make a scarf," Daniel explained, holding up a slightly uneven strip of blue wool. "For you for Christmas, but now it's not a surprise anymore." Sam's expression softened as he looked at his son's handiwork. "It's still a surprise to see how well you're doing. That's fine work, Daniel." The boy beamed under his father's praise. "Miss Mitchell says knitting helps with patience and counting, and my fingers are getting stronger too." "All useful skills," Sam agreed, hanging his coat by the door. "But it's getting late. Time to put it away for tonight." As Daniel carefully stored his knitting in the basket Zara had provided, Sam turned to her. "You didn't have to teach him that." "I wanted to," she replied. "He asked about what I was making and he seemed interested." Sam nodded slowly. "You've been good for him. He's happier since you came." The simple acknowledgement warmed her more than she expected. "He's a joy to be around. You've raised a wonderful son, Mr. Whitaker." Something flickered in Sam's eyes, a momentary vulnerability quickly masked. "His mother deserves most of the credit for that. She was the one who taught me how to be a parent." Before Zara could respond, a gust of wind rattled the windows, and the first heavy drops of rain struck the roof. "Storm's coming in faster than I thought," Sam observed. "Might be a rough night." By bedtime, the storm had intensified, with thunder rolling across the valley and lightning illuminating the mountains in brief, jagged flashes. Zara lay awake, listening to the wind howling around the eaves of the house. Despite the ferocity outside, she felt safe and surprisingly content in her small room. A particularly loud crash of thunder shook the house, followed by the sound of small feet running down the hallway. Zara sat up, then heard a soft knock at her door. "Miss Mitchell." Daniel's voice was small and frightened. "Are you awake?" She quickly pulled on her robe and opened the door to find him clutching a blanket, his eyes wide. "I'm sorry to wake you," he whispered, "but the storm is really loud and Pa sleeps so hard he didn't hear me knock." "It's all right," she assured him, kneeling to his level. "Storms can be frightening." "I'm not usually scared," he insisted, "but this one sounds like it might blow the house down." Another crack of thunder made him jump. Zara put a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Would you like me to walk you back to your room?" Daniel bit his lip. "Could you? Could you tell me a story until I fall asleep? That's what Ma used to do during storms." The request tugged at Zara's heart. "Of course I can. Let's get you back to bed." She followed him to his room and sat on the edge of his bed as he climbed under the covers. As the storm raged outside, she told him a story about a brave little boat that weathered a terrible tempest to bring medicine to a lighthouse keeper's sick child. By the time she finished, Daniel's eyes were drooping. "Thank you, Miss Mitchell," he murmured sleepily. "I'm glad you came to stay with us." "I'm glad, too," she whispered, tucking the blankets around him. "Sleep well, Daniel." As she turned to leave, she was startled to find Sam standing in the doorway, watching them. How long he had been there, she couldn't tell, but something in his expression made her heart skip a beat. "I heard voices," he explained quietly as they stepped into the hallway, pulling Daniel's door partly closed behind them. "The storm woke me." "Daniel was frightened," Zara explained. "He said he knocked on your door, but you didn't hear." Sam ran a hand through his sleep-tousled hair. "I've been up since before dawn. I must have been sleeping deeper than usual." He hesitated. "Thank you for looking after him." "It was no trouble. He's a sweet boy." They stood in the dimly lit hallway, the storm creating an intimate bubble around them. Sam seemed on the verge of saying something more when a particularly violent gust of wind rattled the house, followed by a crashing sound from outside. "That sounded like it hit something," he said, instantly alert. "I'd better check." "Be careful," Zara urged as he headed for the stairs. She returned to her room but found herself too concerned to sleep. After pulling on her boots under her nightgown and robe, she made her way downstairs. Through the window, she could see a lantern moving near the barn. Grabbing Sam's spare slicker from its hook by the door, she stepped out onto the porch. The rain was coming down in sheets, driven sideways by the powerful wind. Lightning revealed Sam struggling with something by the corral. A section of roof from one of the outbuildings had torn loose and was threatening to blow into the paddock where several horses were sheltered. Without hesitation, Zara pulled on the slicker and ran toward him, her boots splashing through puddles. "Let me help," she called over the wind. Sam looked up in surprise. "Miss Mitchell, get back inside. You need another pair of hands," she insisted, reaching for the edge of the metal roofing. "Tell me what to do." For a moment, he looked like he might argue, but another gust threatened to tear the sheet metal from his grasp. "Hold this side down while I secure it with rope," he shouted. Zara braced herself against the wind and gripped the edge of the roofing, which was heavier than she'd expected. Rain pelted her face as she helped Sam drag the piece away from the corral and secure it to a post. "That should hold until morning," he said, surveying their work. "We need to get inside. You're soaked through." Indeed, despite the slicker, Zara's nightgown was plastered to her legs and her hair hung in wet ropes around her face. She was suddenly acutely aware of her state of undress, with only the thin cotton nightgown beneath the open slicker. Sam seemed to realize it at the same moment. He quickly averted his eyes and shrugged out of his own coat, draping it around her shoulders over the slicker. "Come on," he said gruffly, taking her elbow to steady her as they made their way back to the house. Once inside, Sam stoked the fire in the main room while Zara stood dripping on the rug. "You should get into dry clothes," he said, keeping his back to her as he worked with the fire. "So should you," she replied, noticing how his shirt clung to his broad shoulders. He turned, and for a moment, their eyes met across the room. Something electric passed between them, a recognition, perhaps, that boundaries had shifted tonight. "I'll make some coffee," Sam said, breaking the moment, "to warm us up." "I'll be down after I change," Zara agreed, making her way upstairs. In her room, she quickly changed into a dry nightgown and her warmest robe, then toweled her hair as best she could. When she returned downstairs, Sam had changed as well, into dry trousers and a fresh shirt. 2 steaming cups of coffee sat on the table near the fire. "You didn't have to come out in the storm," he said as she joined him. "I saw you needed help." Zara wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "I couldn't just watch from the window. Most women would have." "I'm not most women, Mr. Whitaker." The words came out more boldly than she intended. A hint of a smile touched his lips. "No, I suppose you're not." He took a sip of his coffee. "Still, it was dangerous. You could have been hurt." "So could you," she pointed out. "And then what would happen to Daniel?" Sam's expression grew serious. "That's something I think about every day. It's why I've been trying to find someone who can be part of his life, someone reliable, who cares about him." "Is that why you've hired so many cooks who didn't stay?" Zara asked carefully. He looked into the fire. "Partly. This isn't an easy place to live. It's remote, the work is hard, and winters can be brutal, but it's also because—" He trailed off. "Because what?" Sam met her eyes. "Because I haven't trusted anyone with my son's heart since his mother died. He gets attached easily. When people leave, it breaks something in him all over again." The vulnerability in his admission touched Zara deeply. "I understand your caution," she said softly. "Daniel is precious, and he's been through so much already." "He likes you," Sam said. "More than liked, he's attached to you already. When you were telling him that story tonight, he looked at you the way he used to look at his mother." Zara felt tears prick her eyes. "I've grown very fond of him too." "That's what worries me." Sam set down his cup. "What happens when you decide this life is too hard or too lonely, when you want to go back to civilization?" "Is that what you think will happen?" she asked. "It's what always happens," he replied, a note of bitterness creeping into his voice. "People leave. It's just a matter of time." "Not everyone leaves, Mr. Whitaker." Zara met his gaze steadily. "Some people find where they belong and stay." The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. For a moment she thought he might reach for her, but instead he stood abruptly. "It's late. We should both get some rest. The storm will have left plenty of work for tomorrow." Zara nodded, recognizing his retreat. "Good night then, Mr. Whitaker." As she climbed the stairs, she felt his eyes on her back, and wondered what might have happened if they'd both been braver in that moment by the fire. The storm passed during the night, leaving behind a washed clean world and considerable damage to repair. The next few days were busy ones, with Sam and the ranch hands working to fix the roof of the storage shed and check on the cattle scattered by the storm. Zara took on extra responsibilities, preparing meals for the workers and helping Daniel with his lessons when Mrs. Peterson couldn't make it out from town due to the muddy roads. The shared experience of the storm night had shifted something between Zara and Sam. Though he maintained his reserved manner, there were moments when the barrier between employer and employee seemed to thin, a lingering glance across the dinner table, a brush of hands when passing a plate, a shared smile at something clever Daniel said. November arrived with a dusting of early snow that soon melted in the valleys but remained on the mountain peaks, a harbinger of the winter to come. Preparations intensified around the ranch, with stores of firewood growing beside the house and preserves lining the cellar shelves. On a crisp Saturday morning, Sam announced at breakfast that he needed to go into town for supplies. "I'll be taking the wagon," he told Zara. "Is there anything you need?" "Some more sugar and flour would be helpful," she replied. "And perhaps some dried fruit if they have it." "Can I come too, Pa?" Daniel asked eagerly. Sam hesitated, then nodded. "You can, but only if you promise to stay with me and not wander off like last time." "I promise." The boy's face lit up. "Miss Mitchell, will you come too?" "Mrs. Henderson at the general store always has peppermint sticks, and sometimes there's mail from back east with pictures in the newspapers." Zara looked to Sam, not wanting to intrude on their time together. "Only if your father doesn't mind." "You're welcome to join us," Sam said, and something in his tone suggested he genuinely meant it. The trip into Timber Creek was pleasant, with the crisp autumn air and bright sunshine making the landscape glow. Daniel sat between them on the wagon seat, pointing out landmarks along the way and telling Zara stories about the people they might see in town. Timber Creek was small but thriving, with a main street boasting a general store, a hotel with a dining room, a bank, a sheriff's office, a smithy, and a few other businesses. Several churches stood on side streets, along with neat rows of houses. "It's charming," Zara observed as they pulled up in front of the general store. "It serves its purpose," Sam replied. "The people are good neighbors for the most part." Inside the store, Daniel immediately gravitated toward a display of penny candies, while Sam discussed an order of feed with the proprietor. Zara wandered the aisles, selecting the items she needed and admiring the selection of fabrics and notions. "You must be Miss Mitchell," a feminine voice said beside her. Zara turned to find a well-dressed woman with graying blonde hair and a pleasant face watching her. "Yes, I am. I'm Martha Peterson, Daniel's teacher." The woman extended her hand. "I've heard so much about you from Daniel that I feel I know you already." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Peterson. Daniel speaks highly of you as well." The older woman smiled. "He's a bright child, one of my favorite students." She lowered her voice. "And I must say, it's good to see Sam in town with both of you. He's kept to himself too much since Helen passed." Before Zara could respond, a commotion at the front of the store drew their attention. A man in a fine suit was speaking loudly to Sam, whose posture had gone rigid. "Come now, Whitaker. You must see that selling is the sensible option. The railroad's coming through whether you like it or not. Why not profit from it?" "I've given you my answer, Hargrove," Sam replied, his voice level but with an edge of steel. "My land isn't for sale. Not to you, not to the railroad, not to anyone." The man Hargrove noticed they had an audience and smiled thinly. "We'll discuss this another time then, but do consider the offer. It's more than fair." As he swept out of the store, Daniel sidled up to Zara and Mrs. Peterson. "That's Mr. Hargrove," he whispered. "Pa doesn't like him. He keeps trying to buy our ranch." Mrs. Peterson patted Daniel's shoulder. "Why don't you show me which book you're reading now, dear? I think your father might need a moment." As Daniel led his teacher to another part of the store, Zara approached Sam, who was staring after Hargrove with a thunderous expression. "Is everything all right?" she asked quietly. Sam's jaw worked for a moment before he answered. "Just Hargrove being Hargrove. He represents Eastern investors who want to buy up land along the proposed railroad route. He's been after our place for months. And you don't want to sell. That land has been in Helen's family for generations," Sam said firmly. "It's Daniel's inheritance. I won't sell it out from under him, especially not to men who'll strip it bare and move on." The vehemence in his voice surprised her. "I understand," she said softly. "Some things are worth more than money." Sam looked at her then, really looked at her, as if seeing something new. "Yes," he agreed. "They are." The moment was broken when Daniel returned, proudly showing off a book Mrs. Peterson had recommended. They finished their shopping and loaded the supplies into the wagon, with Sam noticeably more relaxed as they prepared to leave town. "One more stop," he announced, to Zara's surprise. "The hotel dining room serves a decent lunch on Saturdays. I thought we might eat there before heading back." Daniel whooped with delight. "Their pie is almost as good as Miss Mitchell's." "High praise indeed," Zara laughed, touched by the unexpected invitation. The hotel dining room was busy but not crowded. They found a table near the window, and Daniel chattered happily about everything he'd seen in town. Sam seemed more relaxed than Zara had ever seen him. occasionally adding his own observations or gently correcting his son's more fanciful claims. As they were finishing their meal, the dining room door opened, and a striking woman in a fashionable burgundy dress entered, accompanied by Hargrove. She surveyed the room before her eyes landed on their table, and a slow smile spread across her face. "Samuel Whitaker," she said, approaching them. "What a pleasant surprise. It's been ages since you've graced the town with your presence." Sam stood, his expression carefully neutral. "Vivian." "Mr. Hargrove." The woman Vivian turned her attention to Zara. "And who might this be?" "This is Miss Mitchell, our cook," Sam replied. "Miss Mitchell, this is Vivian Carter and Theodore Hargrove." "Charmed," Vivian said, though her tone suggested otherwise. Her eyes flicked between Sam and Zara with obvious speculation. "Just the cook? How practical of you, Samuel." "Miss Mitchell is also helping with my lessons," Daniel piped up. "She's teaching me to knit, and she makes the best apple pie in the whole territory." Vivian's smile tightened. "How delightful." She turned back to Sam. "I hope you'll consider what Theodore discussed with you earlier. It really would be the sensible choice, especially for Daniel's future." "Daniel's future is secure," Sam replied evenly. "Good day, Vivian, Mr. Hargrove." After they moved on to their own table, Zara couldn't help but ask, "Who was that woman?" Sam's expression was grim. "Vivian Carter. She owns the hotel and several other businesses in town. She was also a friend of Helen's once upon a time. And now?" "Now she's partnered with Hargrove in trying to buy up land for the railroad, including ours." Sam signaled for the check. "Time we headed back. Storm clouds are building over the mountains." The ride home was quieter, with Daniel dozing between them after the excitement of the day. Zara found herself wondering about the complicated history between Sam and Vivian Carter, but knew better than to pry further. As they approached the ranch, Sam finally broke the silence. "I apologize for Vivian's behavior. She has a talent for making situations uncomfortable." "There's no need to apologize," Zara assured him. "I wasn't offended. She implied there was something improper between us." Zara felt her cheeks warm. "People will always talk, Mr. Whitaker. It doesn't make it true." Sam glanced at her, then back at the road. "No, it doesn't." After a pause, he added, "Though it made me realize how it might look to others, a widower living alone with a young, unmarried woman." "As your employee," Zara pointed out. "Yes," he agreed, though something in his tone made her wonder if he was thinking beyond that simple definition of their relationship. They reached the ranch just as the first snowflakes began to fall fat, lazy flakes that melted as soon as they touched the ground but promised more to come. Sam carried the still sleeping Daniel inside while Zara began unloading their purchases. That evening, after Daniel was in bed, Sam found Zara in the kitchen, preparing dough for the next morning's breakfast. "You should rest," he said from the doorway. "It's been a long day." "I don't mind," she replied, continuing to work the dough. "I find baking relaxing." Sam watched her for a moment, then stepped fully into the kitchen. "Can I help?" The offer surprised her. "Do you know how to bake?" A hint of a smile touched his lips. "Helen taught me the basics." "I'm not as skilled as you, but I can manage." They worked side by side, with Sam following Zara's instructions to roll out the dough while she prepared the filling. The domesticity of the scene wasn't lost on her in another life. They might have been husband and wife sharing this quiet evening task. "Daniel had a good time today," Sam said as they worked. "He enjoys your company. The feeling is mutual. He's a remarkable child. He told me yesterday that he hopes you'll stay forever." Sam's eyes met hers briefly before returning to his task. His exact words. Zara's heart skipped a beat. "That's very sweet of him. Is it something you've considered, staying, I mean?" Sam's voice was carefully neutral, but Zara sensed the importance of his question. I have, she admitted, more than I expected to. And Zara paused in her work. I came here looking for a new start, Mr. Whitaker. I've found that and more. I've found a place where I feel useful and appreciated. Sam set down the rolling pin and turned to face her fully. You are appreciated, Miss Mitchell, more than you know. The intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. They stood just a foot apart, the air between them charged with unspoken possibilities. Sam, she said softly, using his given name for the first time. A gust of wind rattled the kitchen window, breaking the moment. Sam stepped back, running a hand through his hair. It's getting late. We should finish up here. They completed their work in silence, the opportunity for greater honesty lost. As they cleaned up, Sam paused at the door. Good night, Miss Mitchell. Good night, Mr. Whitaker, she replied, wondering if they would ever bridge the careful distance he maintained between them. The weeks leading up to Christmas brought heavy snows that transformed the landscape into a pristine white wilderness. The ranch settled into its winter routine, with Sam and the hands keeping the livestock fed and watered while Zara maintained the warm heart of the home. Daniel's excitement grew as the holiday approached. With Zara's help, he finished the blue scarf for his father and made simple gifts for the ranch hands as well. Zara found herself embracing the season more than she had since her parents' deaths, decorating the house with pine boughs and ribbons, baking cookies and bread to fill the house with festive scents. Sam, too, seemed caught up in the spirit, bringing home a small pine tree for the main room and disappearing into town one day, returning with mysterious packages that he hid in his study. In the evenings, the three of them often sat by the fire, with Sam reading Christmas stories aloud while Daniel and Zara worked on their knitting or other small projects. On Christmas Eve, after Daniel had finally been persuaded to go to bed. But how will Santa know which room is mine, Pa? Zara and Sam sat together in the firelit main room. Outside, snow fell steadily, muffling the world in white silence. I have something for you, Sam said, handing her a small package wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. But Christmas is tomorrow, Zara protested. This isn't exactly a Christmas gift, he explained. It's something I wanted to give you privately. Curious, Zara untied the string and unwrapped the paper to reveal a small, leather-bound journal with her initials embossed on the cover. It's beautiful, she said, running her fingers over the soft leather. I noticed you writing letters sometimes, Sam said. Thought you might like somewhere to keep your private thoughts as well. The thoughtfulness of the gift touched her deeply. Thank you, I'll treasure it. She hesitated, then added, I have something for you too. She retrieved a package from beside her chair and handed it to him. Sam unwrapped it carefully to reveal a hand-knitted sweater in deep blue wool. I noticed your old one was getting worn, she explained as he held it up. I hope it fits. Sam ran his hand over the even stitches. You made this. When did you find the time? In the evenings, after you and Daniel were asleep, she admitted. It gave me something to do on the long winter nights. Sam looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. No one has made me anything like this since Helen died. Try it on, Zara suggested softly. He stood and pulled the sweater over his head. It fit perfectly, emphasizing the breadth of his shoulders and the lean strength of his frame. The color brought out the blue in his gray eyes. How does it feel? She asked. Like it was made for me, he replied, his voice low. Thank you, Zara. It was the first time he had used her given name, and the intimacy of it made her heart flutter. You're welcome, Sam. They stood looking at each other in the firelight, the barriers between them thinner than ever before. Sam took a step toward her, then hesitated. It's getting late, he said finally. And tomorrow we'll start early with Daniel. Disappointment flickered through Zara, but she nodded. Of course. Good night, Sam. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Zara. As she climbed the stairs to her room, Zara wondered if she had imagined the regret in his eyes when he'd stepped away from her. Perhaps some walls took longer to come down than others. Christmas Day dawned bright and clear, with sunlight sparkling on the fresh snow. Daniel's excited voice woke the household early as he discovered the presents beneath the tree. The day passed in a blur of joy and laughter, with a feast that Zara had been preparing for days, and an impromptu snowball fight in the yard that left them all breathless and red-cheeked. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the house remained warm despite the deepening winter outside. Sam wore his new sweater often, and Zara caught him watching her with an expression that made her wonder what he was thinking. Something was building between them, something neither seemed quite ready to name. New Year's Eve brought clear, cold weather and a sky full of stars. After Daniel had gone to bed, Sam invited Zara to join him on the porch to watch for shooting stars, a blanket wrapped around each of them against the chill. My father used to say that if you saw a shooting star on New Year's Eve, your wish for the coming year would definitely come true, Sam told her as they gazed upward. Did you believe him? Zara asked. As a child, absolutely. Sam smiled at the memory. I'd stay up as late as they'd let me, eyes glued to the sky. And now, he considered her question. Now I think maybe some wishes come true not because of stars, but because we find the courage to make them happen. Their eyes met in the starlight, and for a moment, Zara thought he might finally bridge the gap between them. But a commotion from the barn broke the spell, the sound of horses nickering nervously. Sam was immediately alert. Something spooked them, he said, rising. Wait here. Be careful, Zara called after him as he strode toward the barn, lantern in hand. Minutes passed and Zara's concern grew. Just as she was about to follow him, Sam emerged from the barn with a grim expression. What is it? She asked. Tracks in the fresh snow, he replied. Someone rode close to the barn, circled the house, then headed back toward town. Who would do that? And why? Sam's jaw tightened. I have my suspicions. Hargrove has been getting more persistent with his offers and his threats. Threats. Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the winter air. What kind of threats? Veiled ones, mostly. About how unfortunate it would be if something happened to my cattle, or if Daniel had trouble at school. Sam's eyes were hard in the lantern light. I didn't take them seriously before, but this coming onto my property at night crosses a line. Zara wrapped her arms around herself. What will you do? Speak to Sheriff Turner tomorrow, and double the night watches on the herds. Sam looked at her, his expression softening. I'm sorry about this. You shouldn't have to worry about such things. I care about what happens to this ranch, Zara said firmly, to all of you. The moment hung between them, weighted with things unsaid. Then Sam offered his hand. Come inside. It's too cold to stay out here. As she placed her hand in his, Zara felt the warmth of his grip like a promise, one she hoped he would have the courage to keep. January passed in a haze of snow and ice, with the ranch largely isolated except for necessary trips to town. Sam increased security around the property, though there were no further night visitors. Daniel continued his lessons with Zara and Mrs. Peterson, who braved the weather twice a week to reach them. February brought more snow, but also the first hints that winter's grip might eventually loosen. The days grew marginally longer, and occasionally the temperature rose enough to create icicle daggers hanging from the eaves. One such day, Zara was hanging laundry to dry near the kitchen stove, when Sam came in from checking the cattle in the north pasture. His cheeks were ruddy from the cold and snow clung to his hat and coat. How are they faring? She asked, knowing he had been concerned about a pregnant heifer. Better than expected, he replied, stamping snow from his boots. The heifer calved overnight, healthy bull calf, good size. That's wonderful news, Zara said, genuinely pleased. She had learned much about ranch life over the months and understood the significance of each successful birth. Sam removed his hat and coat, hanging them by the door. Something smells good. Beef stew, she explained. And I've got bread in the oven. Perfect day for it. Sam moved to the stove, warming his hands. Where's Daniel? Working on his arithmetic. Mrs. Peterson left extra problems for him. Sam nodded approvingly. He's getting ahead of where I was at his age, smarter than his old man. I doubt that, Zara said with a smile. He told me you can calculate the board feet in a stand of timber just by looking at it. That's just experience, Sam demurred, though he looked pleased by her comment. Anyone can learn it. Not anyone, Zara disagreed. It takes intelligence as well as experience. Sam watched her as she continued hanging the damp clothes on the drying rack. You've changed since you came here, he observed. Zara paused in her work. How so? You're more confident, more settled in yourself. He leaned against the counter, his expression thoughtful. When you first arrived, you seemed unsure, like you were still finding your footing after losing your parents. I was, she admitted. Everything felt temporary then, like I was just passing through until I found where I belonged. And now, Zara met his gaze steadily. Now I know where I belong. The air between them thickened with possibility. Sam took a step toward her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. Zara, he began, his voice low. I've been wanting to tell you. The front door banged open, followed by Daniel's excited voice. Pa, Miss Mitchell, look what I found in the woodshed. Sam closed his eyes briefly, then stepped back as Daniel burst into the kitchen, proudly displaying a nest with 3 blue eggs. It was in the corner, up on the shelf, he explained breathlessly. Do you think they'll hatch? Zara knelt to examine his find. I'm afraid not, Daniel. It's an old nest from last spring. See how the eggs are dry inside. She gently tapped one to show him. Daniel's face fell. Oh. I thought we might get baby birds. In a few months there will be plenty of nests with eggs that will hatch, Sam assured him, ruffling his son's hair. When spring comes. When will that be? Daniel asked. Sooner than you think, Zara told him. The days are already getting longer. The moment between her and Sam had passed, but the promise of it lingered. Whatever he had been about to say would have to wait for another time. That evening, after Daniel was asleep, Sam found Zara in the main room, writing in the journal he had given her. He sat in the chair opposite hers, the firelight playing across his features. I've been thinking, he said without preamble. Zara closed her journal. About what? About what's best for Daniel, for all of us. Sam leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. Hargrove came by the ranch today while you were in town with Daniel. Concern tightened Zara's chest. What did he want? The same thing he always wants, to buy the ranch, but his tactics are changing. He mentioned that the railroad is planning to lay track that would cut right through our north pasture. Can they do that? Without your permission? They can try, Sam replied grimly. They have lawyers and money and political connections. I have a deed and a stubborn streak. What will you do? Sam ran a hand through his hair. Fight it, of course, but it got me thinking about the future, about what kind of life I want for Daniel. And what kind is that? Zara asked softly. A stable one, with family around him, with... Sam hesitated, then met her eyes directly. With a mother. Zara's heart stuttered in her chest. Sam, let me finish, please, he said. I'm not good at this sort of thing, never have been. He took a deep breath. When Helen died, I thought that part of my life was over. I figured I'd raise Daniel alone and that would be enough. Then you came and everything changed. He stood and moved to kneel beside her chair, taking her hands in his. I don't want you to be our cook anymore, Zara. For a terrible moment, she thought he was dismissing her. Then she saw the emotion in his eyes. What do you want me to be?" She whispered, "My wife," he said simply. "Daniel's mother, if you'll have us." Joy bloomed in Zara's chest, so intense it almost hurt. "Are you certain? This isn't just because of Hargrove or the railroad." "I've been certain since Christmas," Sam admitted. "Maybe before. I just couldn't find the courage to say it. Couldn't believe that someone like you would want this life, want me permanently." "Oh, Sam." Zara brought a hand to his cheek. "I've wanted this life, wanted you and Daniel for months now. I just didn't think you felt the same." Sam turned his face to press a kiss to her palm. "I love you, Zara Mitchell. Will you marry me?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, I will marry you." The smile that broke across Sam's face transformed him, erasing the lines of worry and reserve she had grown so accustomed to seeing. He rose slightly, still kneeling, and drew her toward him for their first kiss, gentle at first, then deepening as she responded eagerly. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Sam rested his forehead against hers. "I should have done that months ago." Zara laughed softly. "We have time to make up for it now." The sound of small feet on the stairs made them both look up. Daniel stood on the bottom step, tousle-haired and sleepy-eyed. "Pa, Miss Mitchell, is everything all right?" Sam beckoned to his son. "Everything's better than all right, Daniel. Come here. We have something to tell you." Daniel padded over to them and Sam lifted him onto his lap. "Miss Mitchell and I have decided to get married," he explained. "She's going to be your mother if that's all right with you." Daniel's eyes widened, fully awake now. "Really? Forever?" "Forever," Zara confirmed, her heart full as she looked at the boy who had already claimed a piece of her heart. Daniel's face broke into a radiant smile. "I knew it. I told Joe that you were nice, and that Pa liked you even though he pretended not to sometimes, and that you wouldn't leave us like the others did." Sam laughed, a full, rich sound that Zara realized she had rarely heard from him. "When did you get so smart?" "Mrs. Peterson says I'm observant," Daniel replied proudly. Then he looked at Zara with sudden seriousness. "Does this mean I should call you Ma now?" Zara felt tears prick her eyes. "Only if you want to, Daniel, and only when you're ready." The boy considered this, then nodded. "I think I'd like to. My first Ma would want me to have another one, I think. She always said everyone needs a mother." Sam hugged his son close, his eyes meeting Zara's over the boy's head. The love she saw there for both of them was unmistakable. "Your mother was a wise woman," Sam told Daniel. "And I think she would approve of our choice." Later, after Daniel had been tucked back into bed with promises of a celebration the next day, Sam and Zara stood together on the porch, watching the stars. His arm was around her waist, keeping her warm against the winter chill. "When should we marry?" he asked, pressing a kiss to her temple. "As soon as possible," Zara replied. "Before spring planting keeps you too busy." Sam chuckled. "Practical as always. How about next month? That gives us time to make arrangements and for word to reach any friends you might want to invite." "Next month sounds perfect." Zara turned in his arms to face him. "Sam, what about Hargrove and the railroad? Will they still be a problem after we're married?" His expression grew serious. "Probably, but we'll face it together now. And I've been thinking about alternatives, ways to protect the ranch without giving in to them. Such as formally designating portions of the land as a wildlife sanctuary. Helen's father started keeping records of the elk and bighorn sheep that winter in our North Valley. Those records might help us make a case that the land should be protected." Zara smiled up at him. "That's brilliant, and fitting given how much Helen loved this place." "She would have liked you," Sam said softly. "You have the same spirit, the same way of seeing beauty in things I take for granted." "I wish I could have known her," Zara replied honestly. "She must have been remarkable to have left such a legacy of love behind her." Sam kissed her then, tenderly, as if sealing a promise between them. "We'll honor that legacy by building our own," he murmured against her lips. "Together," Zara agreed, her heart full of hope for the future they would share. The February wedding was small but joyful, held in the town church with most of Timber Creek in attendance. Zara wore a simple cream-colored dress with lace at the collar and cuffs, and carried winter roses grown in Mrs. Peterson's greenhouse. Daniel stood proudly beside his father, wearing his Sunday best and a solemn expression that broke into a grin when the minister pronounced them husband and wife. Theodore Hargrove and Vivian Carter were conspicuously absent from the celebration, but their shadow couldn't dim the happiness of the day. After a reception at the hotel dining room, the newly formed family returned to the ranch, now truly home to all of them. Spring came early that year, with March bringing warm winds that melted the snow in the valleys and turned the pastures green almost overnight. The calving season was successful, with healthy new additions to the herd ensuring the ranch's prosperity for another year. Zara blossomed in her role as wife and mother, maintaining the warm heart of the home while also taking an active interest in the business side of the ranch. Her practical nature and quick mind proved valuable as Sam implemented his plan to protect their land from the railroad's encroachment. By summer, their efforts had borne fruit. With the help of a lawyer from Cheyenne and the wildlife records kept by Helen's family, they secured an agreement that would allow the railroad to pass along the eastern edge of their property, far from the sensitive winter grounds of the elk herds, and leaving the bulk of their grazing land intact. Hargrove was furious, but there was little he could do in the face of the legal protections they had established. Vivian Carter continued to spread occasional rumors about Zara in town, but these found little purchase among people who had come to respect the new Mrs. Whitaker for her kindness and community involvement. On a warm evening in late August, as the family sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the mountains gold, Daniel leaned against Zara's side. "Ma," he said, the name now coming naturally to his lips, "do you ever miss Chicago?" Zara considered the question seriously. "I miss certain things about it, the libraries, the concerts, some of the people I knew there, but I don't miss living there. This is home now." Sam reached across to take her hand, his thumb brushing over the gold band on her finger. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. Zara smiled at him, feeling the familiar warmth that his touch still kindled in her. "Not a single one." "Good," Daniel declared, "because I was thinking maybe we could get a dog. Joe's collie had puppies and he said I could have one if you and Pa agreed." Sam laughed. "Is that so?" "And where would this dog sleep?" "In my room," Daniel said promptly. "I'd take care of it, I promise." "We'll discuss it," Zara said, exchanging an amused glance with Sam. They both knew they would likely give in to Daniel's request, the first of many family decisions they would make together in the years to come. As darkness fell, and the first stars appeared in the vast Wyoming sky, Zara reflected on the journey that had brought her here from loss and uncertainty to love and belonging. She had come to cook for a cowboy's family and found something far more precious than mere employment. She had found her place in the world with a man who loved her and a child who had claimed her heart from the beginning. "Penny for your thoughts," Sam murmured as Daniel ran inside to fetch a lantern. "I was just thinking about how lives can change completely with one decision," Zara replied. "If I hadn't answered that advertisement, I like to think we would have found each other somehow," Sam said, drawing her close. "Some things are meant to be." In the doorway, Daniel appeared with the lantern, its light casting a golden glow on his face. "Pa, Ma, come see. I found that book of constellations, and we can try to find them all tonight." As they followed their son inside, hand in hand, Zara knew that whatever challenges the future might hold, They would face them together, a family forged not by blood but by choice, by love, and by the simple wisdom of a child who had recognized what they all needed long before the adults had figured it out themselves.